Good morning, I'm Craig Negrelli. It's Thursday, March 27th, 2025, and these are your Unbiased Updates. President Trump announces a 25% tariff on foreign car imports, what he hopes to accomplish here in the United States by doing so, and how such a levy might impact the price of a new car. And the Signal chat fallout, calls for resignations as sensitive information on the United States bombarding the Houthi rebels in Yemen gets sent to a reporter. What President Trump said last night about the controversy and his defense secretary.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
This morning, reaction is coming in from across the world after President Donald Trump announced he's levying 25% tariffs on foreign-made autos. The president signed an executive order Wednesday saying it will spur growth within the United States and could bring in $600 billion to $1 trillion in tax revenue to the United States within the next 2 years.
And that number is going to be used to reduce debt greatly in the United States and to build things, reduce taxes. Basically, I view it as reducing taxes and also reducing debt.
Japan's prime minister told lawmakers there he's, quote, considering all options in response to the tariffs, not ruling out countermeasures. Autos made up more than 28% of Japan's total exports to the United States in 2024, and the country's auto industry makes up roughly 3% of Japan's gross domestic product. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called the new tariffs a direct attack on his country.
Anticipated this possibility. We have put in place the mechanisms so that if it is appropriate for retaliatory tariffs, and there's many considerations to be taken in those regards, and I want to have the meeting of our cabinet, Canada-U.S. cabinet, other considerations. We need to see the details of the executive order, but we will take the steps that are in the interests of Canadian workers, of Canada. We are going to stand up for Canada. We're going to be united.
The tariffs take effect next Wednesday, April 2nd, and President Trump says the U.S. will begin collecting duties the next day. Automakers with plants in the United States still depend on Canada, Mexico, and other nations for parts and finished vehicles. Experts say ramping up manufacturing facilities will take time, which is likely to cause domestic auto prices to go up and sales to go down. The tariffs are having an impact on a couple of big names. This week, Hyundai announced it is investing $21 billion in the United States, including a $6 billion steel plant in Louisiana. Earlier this month, Honda revealed it is changing plans and will produce its popular Civic in Indiana instead of Mexico. This morning, the fallout continues from what's being called Signalgate, as a growing number of Trump allies and adversaries are calling for National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and others to be fired. It comes after a journalist was included in a group chat with the nation's top defense officials as they discussed sensitive military operations against Houthi rebels in Yemen. Screenshots published by The Atlantic show a user named Michael Waltz invited the magazine's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, into the conversation on the app Signal. According to The Atlantic, the group also included Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and several other cabinet members, as well as Trump Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. While President Trump and his allies maintain no sensitive information was compromised, congressional Democrats rejected National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe's assertions in a hearing on Wednesday, saying details from the chat could have jeopardized the success of the mission or put U.S. service members' lives at stake. The Atlantic's reporting quoted messages in which Hegseth specified types of U.S. military aircraft and the timing of recent airstrikes. As Waltz faces calls to resign from within his own party, Democrats, including Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth, are also calling for Pete Hegseth to resign. At the Oval Office last night, President Trump addressed the matter when questioned by reporters.
Well, I don't know about downplaying. The press upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt, that's all. I think it's a witch hunt. I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't there, but I can tell you the result is unbelievable because the Houthis are looking to do something. They want to know, how do we stop How do we stop? Can we have peace? The Houthis want peace because they're getting the hell knocked out of them. It's been very, very strong. The Houthis are dying for peace. They don't want this.
President Trump also stated that he believes Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is doing a great job and that Hegseth had nothing to do with this. The Social Security Administration quickly backtracked on some of its plans to combat fraud and waste after widespread outcry over changes mandated by the Trump administration. People applying for Social Security disability insurance, Medicare, or supplemental security income who are not able to use the agency's online portal will be allowed to complete their claim entirely over the phone instead of in person. Last week, the Trump administration announced a plan to require in-person identity checks for millions of new and existing recipients. However, it came as Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency said it's closing 47 Social Security field offices across 18 states, raising concerns for those who would be forced to travel long distances to reach their nearest office. The changes were supposed to begin on Monday, but that is now pushed back to April 14th. Acting Social Security Commissioner Lee Dudek says delaying the start date will help officials train employees on new procedures. The search continues today for 4 U.S. Army soldiers who went missing during a training exercise in Lithuania. Straight Arrow News originally reported Wednesday the soldiers were dead. While speaking with reporters in Warsaw, NATO's Secretary General said they had died. However, NATO later made a post on X saying the Secretary General was, quote, referring to emerging news reports and was not confirming the fate of the missing, which is still unknown. The soldiers were last seen in a training area just 6 miles from Lithuania's border with Belarus. Army officials say the missing Americans were riding in their M88 recovery vehicle, which was discovered submerged in a body of water in a training area. The Army had been training with Lithuanian armed forces and law enforcement. A search and recovery effort is underway for the soldiers, who are all from the 1st Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division. The measles outbreak that has hit West Texas and eastern New Mexico is closing in on almost 400 cases, and it now appears to be spreading. The state health department in Kansas reports cases in that state doubled last week to nearly 24, and there is a possible link to the Texas and New Mexico outbreaks. Kansas health officials put doctors on high alert this week and recommended early vaccination for babies between 6 months and 11 months in outbreak counties. In Ohio, what started as 1 case in 1 county is now up to 9 sufferers. On the East Coast, Washington, D.C. health officials confirm a person who rode the Amtrak train is confirmed to have the measles. A press release indicates that person visited various locations while contagious between last Wednesday and Saturday. Health officials are now trying to alert people who traveled in the same circles that they might have been exposed. Finally this morning, it's a big day for baseball. Major League Baseball Opening Day 2025. Every year there's so much excitement surrounding the start of the season. Many Major League fans consider it a national holiday. Straight Arrow News sports reporter Chris Francis now on what to keep an eye on this season.
This year happens to be the 125th season for Major League Baseball, and there will be roughly 10 hours of action featuring 28 teams, starting with the Milwaukee Brewers and the New York Yankees in the Bronx at 3 p.m. Eastern. Speaking of the Yankees, they were one of spring training's biggest stories, or rather their injury list was. Ace Garrett Cole will miss the season after having surgery on his injured elbow, and 2 other starting pitchers, Luis Gil and Clark Schmidt, are also on the IL. Sluggers Giancarlo Stanton and DJ LeMahieu will miss time too. GM Brian Cashman says there aren't too many moves the defending AL champs can make right now.
Work in progress. Obviously the roster changes all the time, so it's certainly a different roster this year than how it ended last year. And so we're learning a lot about the new guys.
Can the rest of the American League take advantage of the Yankees' misfortune? Ask the guys in Arlington, Texas. The Rangers are favored to win the West by a lot of people, but it may be a close race. They open at home Thursday against the Boston Red Sox, but their pitching is a bit suspect to start the season.
There's a lot of different scenarios that could happen there. We need length in the bullpen. We know that. But we could have an opener, things until we get this thing sorted out.
Two teams in the American League will play in minor league parks. The Tampa Bay Rays will call the Yankees spring training facility home this year after Hurricane Helene destroyed the roof of Tropicana Field in September of 2024. And the A's have moved from Oakland to Sacramento for the next few years while they await a new ballpark in Las Vegas. In the National League, all eyes will be on Juan Soto, who makes his New York Mets debut against the Astros in Houston Thursday. The slugger moved over from the Yankees to Queens for a record $765 million over the next 15 seasons. He's loving his new team.
I think we're in a good spot. We're in a really good spot. I think we have a really talented group. We have a lot of guys. We have a lot of outfielders. We have a lot of infielders. So I think we are really loaded as a team.
Who else is loaded in the National League? Oh, that's right, the defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Yeah, they've already had their opening day, beating the Chicago Cubs in back-to-back games in the Tokyo series. They'll play their home opener Thursday against Detroit ace Tariq Skubal, countering with their own Cy Young winner, Blake Snell. The Dodgers have the talent to challenge the Major League record for wins in a season, which is 116. But Snell says they won't hit their stride until this summer.
You know, we're starting to get to know each other better, there's just a lot of learning that's going to go on in the next couple of months before I really get comfortable. You know, we gotta learn each other. I gotta learn what it's like to be on this team when it's just our team playing real big league, meaningful games. So the first 2 months will be a lot of just learning, and then from there, just getting better and better.
Other contenders in the National League include the Philadelphia Phillies and Arizona Diamondbacks, the San Diego Padres, and the Atlanta Braves, who actually face off in the season-opening series in San Diego. The 162-game grind starts for nearly everyone Thursday, and 6 months from now, we'll be talking about who's matching up in the World Series. Lots of lazy summer days at the ballpark between now and then. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Chris Francis.
And one of the neat things about being based here in Omaha is it's about a 3-hour drive down to Kansas City to see the Royals at Kauffman Stadium, or a 1-hour flight to Chicago if you like the Cubs or White Sox. Pretty neat. Those are your unbiased updates for this Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.